I think it's likely that we are let down because we are never going to see something quite like what we saw a season ago. So Laurence Edmondson, if you will, sell Abu Dhabi to me. Why should I care? Why am I watching? What's still at stake? What are you looking for in the final race of the 2022 season?
Okay, yeah, that's tricky because I have come to this race a lot of times and wondered quite what I was doing here. But if there is a title on the line, then it's good. And we don't have a title on the line, but we have, I guess, what is quite literally the next best thing, which is second place on the line between Checo and Charles Leclerc. And of course, no one was really that excited about it. It was hard to tell if the drivers were actually that excited about finishing second in the championship. But now we've had this other element thrown in there with the Perez and Verstappen issue in Brazil. And then, of course, also that Ferrari didn't swap their drivers there either. That kind of makes it interesting, I think, because Sainz, who's on very good form at the moment, got a podium in Brazil, could quite conceivably be ahead of Charles on Sunday, and the same with Red Bull, and seeing how they kind of work that to their advantage will be interesting. Plus, let's not forget, we've just had Mercedes win the first race this season that they've won. You know, after 8 years of dominance, they were absolutely nowhere at the start of the year, and they've got themselves back. And if they can finish the year on 2 wins, I think it'll be much harder here because the track doesn't really suit their car. But if they could do that, imagine what that would say about their chances going into next year. So there's still stuff to get excited. If there's a Formula One race on, there's always stuff to get excited about. But there are a few little kind of background stories going along that I think will still make for an interesting weekend of racing.
And let's not forget as well, last race for Mr. Sebastian Vettel, last race for the foreseeable future for Ricciardo, last race potentially for Mick Schumacher. I keep forgetting as well that it's Nicholas Latifi's last race. So shout out to Latifi at the scene of one of his most famous moments when he became a Red Bull. He got Red Bull for life, as Christian Horner said afterwards, for what happened last season. So yeah, I think the Vettel one will be. Hopefully he gets a good, just a good, strong, clean race out of that. But that will be bizarre, seeing Vettel get out of an F1 car for the last time because he's been around for so long and he's done so much. So yeah, I was wondering the same question. What is riding on this weekend's race? I personally don't get that excited about the battle for second, but I think I don't know. I don't know whether there's a way F1 can ever make these things more interesting. Obviously, when you look at soccer, you have European qualifications, stuff like that. You really don't have the same thing riding on it. And as much as people try and push, the column 2 money, I don't think the Constructors' Championship really resonates with that many people because ultimately you look at a Formula One car and most people assume, I feel like they're doing all right for money. Whether that's true or not, it's harder to get excited about it. So, yeah, it's a shame because I always loved, we talked about it last week, didn't we? But Brazil is such a great venue and it's just such a shame that doesn't finish the season because if that had been the last race, that would be an amazing way to finish the season off, but it just always seems to deliver. And Abu Dhabi, not quite sure that it does. Last year's race was actually pretty dull until those kind of final 10 minutes. You had a great first lap when everyone forgets now that Lewis and Max had that moment at the chicane. Then you had Perez kind of defending for a little bit. And then there was like 40 laps of really nothing happening other than me writing an entire race report around Lewis winning the championship, which I then had to delete pretty quickly, when the safety car came out. So, yeah, not the best venue, but we'll see. Maybe there's something. I feel like Mercedes winning in Abu Dhabi after last year would be a pretty great storyline.
You're also both forgetting just pure pride based on your predictions, which
yes.
I'm going to ask the both.
Well, I was
going
to keep that quiet because I think I did pretty well last week.
Yeah, let's revisit. Got it written down right here. We laughed at Nate Saunders last week as he said he was going with his heart. He picked Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, and Daniel Ricciardo to finish on the podium.
That's right.
2 of the 3. I will take it. Decent job by you.
Ricciardo was pretty wild, wasn't it? I mean, he didn't even make it past lap 1.
No,
so,
yeah. It was a quick race for Danny Rick. Laurence, on the other hand, safe bet going with Max Verstappen to win. We did not see that happen. Sergio Perez at 2, and then you had Charles Leclerc coming in 3rd. So I'm just going to put a big X through all of that for now. As you see it, last predictions that you will have for the 2022 season until I get to ask you at the beginning of next season. What say you?
Go on, Nate. You're on form. You go.
Yeah, I'm gonna back a Mercedes win again. I feel good about it. I'll say Lewis again, which probably means Russell will win. I agree with Laurence. This isn't the strongest circuit for Mercedes, but again, it's going for what the better story would be. So Lewis winning, where he feels he was wrong last year, would be fun. And then I think Verstappen and then Perez. I think if those two guys are running like that, I mean, if Checo finishes ahead of Leclerc, obviously it won't matter. But I don't think Verstappen's finishing behind Perez at this race, regardless of what happens.
No way would we get a similar situation. There's no way.
No, well, I don't know. I feel like, Max has put his cards on the table, and what are Red Bull going to do if he doesn't obey them? They're not going to do anything. So maybe I'm being harsh on Verstappen, but you can't see what we saw on Sunday and think that he's just going to change his mind in 7 days. So we'll see.
Laurence?
Okay, well, on the basis that we had a great weekend of racing in Brazil because Nate went for Mercedes and I went for Max Verstappen win, I'm going to go for a Max Verstappen win and see if it pays off again. But I do think
reverse psychology.
Something like that. But I do think the Red Bull would be very quick round here. But then I'm going to have Charles Leclerc in second and Sergio Perez in third. And then this interesting situation, a bit like 2016, where Lewis was trying to back Nico Rosberg into, I think it was Sebastian Vettel back then, who was in third place, or Max Verstappen. I can't remember exactly who it was. Anyway, the situation where one driver's trying to back in. So while Max still gets his win and doesn't have to give a position away to Checo, he kind of helps him a little bit by trying to back Charles Leclerc into Perez, but it doesn't quite pay off. How about that for a pretty? I mean, that's very
specific as well.
Yeah,
very specific.
I'll put that in the footnotes, okay, in the small margins.
You don't need to worry about it because it won't happen. So
it's a hell of a side note. I didn't realize we could add such clarifications, but I like it.
The world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want.
Victory. Yeah.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.